The first panel session today will feature a high-level panel on promoting inclusive business to build back better, comprising of government officials and key players of inclusive business. The session will discuss how they are building and promoting inclusive business in post-COVID times and how inclusive business policy support can help. The speakers will also present how they seek economic opportunities alongside greater access to affordable goods and services. The duration for this panel is 1 hour. It is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Jonathan Wong, Chief of Technology and Innovation, United Nations ESCAP, as moderator for this session to introduce and facilitate the panel session. Mr. Wong, the floor is yours.
Many thanks for that very kind introduction, Fadli, and also for doing my job for me. You've set the scene for the session perfectly. So let me dive straight in actually, and let me start by very briefly introducing our panelists for today, and thank you all for joining us. First, we have Dato Suryani binti Dato Ahmad, Chair of AXME and Secretary General, Ministry of Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives, or MEDAC, Malaysia. His Excellency Heng Sakung, State Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology, Innovation, or MISTI, Cambodia. Ms. Bui Toi Toi, Deputy Director General of the Agency of Enterprise Development, Ministry of Planning and Investment for Vietnam. And last but not least, Ms. Naina Batra, Chief Executive of the Asia Venture Philanthropy Network, or ABPN. Again, just to reiterate a quick reminder before we start, I would like to ask the audience to one, feel free to put any questions to the panel in the chat function, and also using the chat function as well, to share your thoughts on what inclusive business can do to respond to and recover from the pandemic. So as Fadli mentioned, I think today we'll be discussing various things, in particular how governments can create an enabling policy environment for inclusive business. The panel will share their thoughts on priority areas of focus and also identify the types of public-private partnerships which will be critical to advancing the inclusive business agenda in ASEAN. Let me start by turning to Suryani to kick us off. Suryani, the ASEAN Coordinating Council for MSME Development, we'll stick with AXME because it's a lot quicker for now, has played a key role in promoting inclusive business in ASEAN over the past few years. As chair of AXME, can you tell us a bit more about how you foresee inclusive business could have an impact in supporting SMEs' recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic? Over to you, Suryani, to kick us off.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan Wong, the Chief of Information Technology and Innovation United Nations. But before I answer the question, let me address first Your Excellency Heng, Secretary of Industry, Science, Technology and Innovation Cambodia, Ms. Bui Toi, Deputy Director General of Agency for Enterprise Development, Ministry of Planning and Investment Vietnam, Naina Batra, Chief Executive of the Asean Venture Philanthropy Network, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to answer your question now, Mr. Jonathan. First of all, allow me to also congratulate Brunei Darussalam for the successful organization of the 4th ASEAN Inclusive Business Summit and activity carried its ASEAN Chairmanship this year. This would not have been successful without the continued support from the United Nations Commission for Asia and the Pacific, Inclusive Business Network, iBAN, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, and the Region Coordinating Council of MSME, AXME, work for inclusive business in ASEAN. Can I just check if you can hear me clearly? Alright, so as we are well aware, MSMEs contribute up to 99% of business enterprises and contribute up to 85% of employment in ASEAN. So this is followed by the fact that the informal sector is also high in ASEAN. The figures vary by sector, however, based on estimates by OECD, there are about 62 million informal businesses employing 96 million employees across ASEAN. So COVID-19 has revealed that MSMEs, in particular micro and small enterprises, are much more adversely impacted by the health and economic crisis affecting their livelihoods and those under their employment. Aside from the micro and small enterprises, informal businesses who are often unregistered have no access to government assistance, and weak social safety net aggravating the impact of it. These vulnerabilities in the face of crisis are disproportionately impacting women too, as they tend to work in sectors hit the hardest by the pandemic, such as domestic work, manufacturing, textiles, and hospitality. Women are more likely to be without formal work contract than men, or in temporary positions. Therefore, I see the potential of inclusive businesses being well positioned to support inclusive and sustainable economic recovery post-pandemic, given their resources and technical capabilities. Inclusive businesses are self-sufficient and profitable while contributing to society in social and environmental terms, rather than prioritizing profit at the expense of people and the environment. The pandemic too has demonstrated the need for MSMEs to innovate ways of doing business, in particular taking advantage of digital technologies and e-commerce, not just to stay afloat, but to gain competitive edge. In light of this, accelerating inclusive digital transformation has been identified as one of the broad strategies in the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework to drive recovery from the impact of COVID-19. In addition, we should consider the role of social enterprises to provide last mile services to those at the bottom of the economic pyramid. Because of the strong presence and understanding of the local communities they serve, they often develop a business model that is faster and cost-effective in providing basic quality services and products. ASEAN has made significant headway in promoting inclusive business in 2017, when the ASEAN Inclusive Business Framework was introduced to define the inclusive business model and its use as a policy tool in achieving socio-economic objectives of the ASEAN member states. The fourth ASEAN Inclusive Business Summit today demonstrates ASEAN's continued commitment towards the end. Since then, ASEAN member states have integrated or are in the midst of integrating IB into the national policy activities of Cambodia. And here, the ASEAN Economic Ministers endorsed the guidelines for the promotion of inclusive business in ASEAN to serve as a common reference point for ASEAN policymakers in considering, integrating, and promoting IB at the national and regional levels. To widen the outreach and facilitate policymakers to implement these guidelines, key is finalizing the translation of a briefing note to each local language of ASEAN member states. This briefing note summarizes the main points of the guidelines for easy reference. In addition, iBAN has developed an introduction to inclusive business e-learning course, which is accessible through the ASEAN SME Academy. This course imparts basic knowledge of IB to foster deep understanding of what IB is and how they are involved in the value chain. Also, in collaboration with the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, ASEAN BAC, the ASEAN Inclusive Business Award is presented annually to 10 companies with outstanding business models that sustainably create social impact through their core business operations. Among the award recipients last year are Project Management Services from Brunei, the most company in Darussalam from Malaysia, and Hello Diloko from Philippines. Award 2021 in November 2021 will recognize another 10 companies for inclusive business category. To conclude, let me reiterate that inclusive business is key towards inclusive recovery post-COVID. It provides economic opportunities, The saves livelihood and bridges digital divide among vulnerable groups, including women in ASEAN. On this note, let us all applaud the ASEAN member states on the progress made in promoting and mainstreaming inclusive business models in ASEAN. And not to forget the inclusive businesses and social enterprises, particularly those with us here today, for the role they play towards the betterment of those at the bottom of the economic pyramid. I certainly look forward to learning from experiences of ASEAN member states and inclusive businesses shared throughout this summit. Once again, thank you ESCAP, iBAN, and OECD for the staunch support provided since 2019. I look forward to continued cooperation for ASEAN to build back better and rise from COVID-19. Thank you very much, and over to you back.
Thank you so much, Suryani. And firstly, a big thank you to you for being such a champion of inclusive business, indeed social enterprise as well within ASEAN and also within Malaysia as well. You've been kind of a real inspiration and a true leader in pushing this agenda forward. So thank you so much. I noted particularly you referenced the importance of IB for both social and economic objectives and this importance of inclusivity and inclusive growth as well, and leaving no one behind. And of course, with the digital transformation that has been kind of accelerated by the pandemic, hence we're all on this webinar today than in person, highlighting the opportunities that digital transformation can present for more inclusive business. So thank you so much. Let me now turn to His Excellency Heng Seo-keung. And Your Excellency, this year you have taken a number of substantive actions to promote inclusive business, including the Inclusive Business Enabling Environment for Cambodia, or IB strategy. Can you tell us a bit more about the actions that you have taken to promote inclusive business in Cambodia? Your Excellency, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jonathan. Of course, today I'm very honored to join this important forum on this 4th ASEAN IB Summit. And I like today's theme so much about the building inclusive business to build back better. First of all, I would like to thank also our friend country, the Brunei Darussalam and ASEAN Secretariat, and all our development partners such as DARE, ESCAP, iBAN, and OECD for organizing this important event for this 4th ASEAN IB Summit. As we may know that Cambodia has many small and medium and micro enterprises at about 99.8% of the whole enterprises, and many NGO-driven social enterprises. The private sector in Cambodia has been less successful in developing scale-up systematic solution for the relevant problem of the poor and low-income people, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. Ideally, the private sector is the key driver to most social issues using their unique innovative mind. We found that the IB investment with a clear supporting strategy and cooperation between all stakeholders could create new large markets at the base of the pyramids, make develop in Cambodian more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable, and particularly to help accelerate the recovery of post-COVID-19. Inclusive business provides synergy with our existing policies, such as the National Strategic Development Plan, updated 2018-2023, the Industrial Development Policy 2015-2025, the SME Development Policy 2021 and 2025, and also the Master Plan for our Productivity 2020-2030. And out of this, our Science, Technologies, and Innovation Roadmap 2030, and our future law on investment and laws on SME. And at the current stage, Cambodia has secured a strong commitment on the IB promotion through one is the IB enabling environment strategy for Cambodia, which is soon to be submitted to our Supreme National Economic Council to further endorse and get high level approval. And now we have finalized both in English and Khmer versions. The strategy stands as a reference to get a technical assistance support where IB promotion and action plan can be implemented. 2, to ensure effective coordination and direction directly guided by our Senior Minister, His Excellency Chairmanship. We also structure the IB steering group, the IB accreditation committee, and the IB Secretariat to streamline the job, including but not limited to accreditation, awareness raising, and knowledge business coaching, IB policy works, and IB cooperation matter with mostly our development partners, key stakeholder, financing institution, and private sector. 3, taking the concept of public-private partnership, the PPP, we established the accreditation committee joining from key government law industry, the business association in Cambodia, and just last month, the accreditation committee accredited 18 company business line to be as IB models. With various action plans and advocacy works, we foresee that the IBC implementation results are estimated at different levels. A, at the output level, many study, seminar, information initiatives are being done. B, at the company level, we have 80 new IB investment would be made, benefiting cumulatively 4.8 million people and creating revenue at about 0.9 billion US dollar per year. C, at the final beneficiary level, every year we have 0.9 million poor and low income women and men, as well children would receive relevant goods and services through affordable market mechanism, and 0.8 million would get new income opportunities about the market rate. This would help the poor escaping poverty and low-income people moving up the social economic ladder so that Cambodia can become a high middle-income country by 2030 as planned. Total cost for implementing the IBCs between 2021 and 2024 is estimated at about 324.6 million US dollar. Or is 3.8 million US dollar would be for technical assistance, and the rest for financial investment in company with IB business line, mostly in the form of investment risk reduction guarantee scheme. Most promotion activity will also together emerge like leaflet dissemination, impact stories showing case, social media, publication, website, IB seminar, etc. At ASEAN level, I also take high note on the support by iBAN on helping Cambodian to develop business coaching tool. And the recent Cambodian ASEAN IB guideline translation, while ESCAP provide grant support on our first IB forums in Cambodia and the landscape studies among the other key partners. I would also like to inform the forum that next year Cambodian will chair ASEAN, and I wish to echo that Cambodia is looking forward to host the 5th ASEAN IB Summit and the other related events like IB Award. I do hope that by then Cambodian could provide an IB impact report taking into account various joint promotion campaign by ASEAN and Cambodia and also the other development partners. I would like to take this opportunity to call for our more assistance and support to spearhead the IB promotion in Cambodia and ASEAN. Once again, thank you very much to the host country, to Brunei Darussalam, the ASEAN Secretariat, and all our different partners like DARE, ESCAP, iBAN, OECD for organizing this important event. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for that very comprehensive overview of the many actions that Cambodia have taken to promote inclusive business in Cambodia. It's really an example to many countries, not in ASEAN, but the world as well, in terms of the action you've taken. So thank you so much, and it's been an honor to support you. And also thank you for mentioning hosting the IB Summit during Cambodia's presidency as well. It's great that we can continue the momentum as the presidency moves from country to country. So thank you so much for that. Let me now turn to Ms. Bui. And Ms. Bui, Vietnam has just launched, was it last week or this week? I can't remember now. Your national landscape study of inclusive business in Vietnam. And we were very honored, of course, to support you with this work. Can you tell us a bit more about the key findings in the study and how Vietnam is seeking to further promote inclusive business? Ms. Bui, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. It's very good morning from Vietnam. I'm very happy to join the ASEAN IB Summit today and to listen to some of the experience from Cambodia and also the speak from Malaysia. I'm very happy to share with you some of the key findings of the national landscape study of IB in Vietnam. So first of all, I have to thank you very much ESCAP, iBAN, and also the expert to make this report to Vietnam. I must say that it's very important for us to develop the IB business in the next coming time. So as you can see, Vietnam has been very successful for some of the 30 years when we follow the growth model. And but we also see that some of the very challenges facing our country, especially the COVID pandemic recently. So we see that to continue to develop, we have to follow to change another way to develop the economy, to change the model. So we see that to sustain the inclusive development, we need to generate new well-paid income opportunities for low-income people, and also to provide more affordable and relevant goods and services for the BOP. So in 2019, to support the development of the enabling environment for inclusive business in Vietnam, our AID, Agency for Enterprise Development under Ministry of Planning and Investment, already requests ESCAP and iBAN to conduct the landscape study for Vietnamese case. And there are some interesting key findings from this survey. So the study includes a market study of the current inclusive business in Vietnam. The analysis include the recommendations based on the interviews with about 200 key stakeholders. And the market study based on structured interviews with business leaders using the rating tools to assess a company's IB lies against 30 criteria to assess their commercial performance, social impact, and innovation for addressing the needs of BOP, the base of pyramid. So for the study, there is a long list of 160 potential IB companies were established. 60 firms were shortlisted, and 43 were interviewed, and about 40 rate using the rating tool. So among those, it found about 10 potential IB model with a total revenues of about nearly billion Vietnam dollars. It's about 126 million US dollar, benefiting about 2.6 million poor and low-income people. And as you can see, the companies with IB business are typically almost the medium-sized firms with good profit margins, and their management shows a strong strategic intent to transform the business to achieve more and deeper social impact. The study also only review a limited number of firms, but it is likely that the actual numbers of IB companies much larger. Once the strategy to promote IB and accredit IB is established, and more companies with IB business models will come forward, we believe that. The study also identified the market potential in agro business and other income generation, as well as in social and municipal service provision. So many companies indicate interest to transform their current mainstream business into IB model to enhance the impact on the poor and generate further income and growth. Based on the market study, the experts recommend Vietnam can improve the IB business model through the 7 key areas. The first expert recommend us to indicate the strategic commitment to IB through the implementation plan of sustainable private sector development strategy. This strategy we are submitting the Prime Minister for approval. The second, the report recommends us to institutionalize institutionalizing support for IB by establishing a national IB advisory board to guide the IB implementation at national level. I heard from the Cambodia case study, and maybe we will learn from the Cambodia model. And the third, to promote IB awareness through business association. We see this is very important action. The fourth is to set up the IB accreditation system at national level. Because now in Vietnam, in the law, we not yet have this kind of accreditation system. So we see that in the next coming time, this is also very important. And the fourth is coaching IB business and upgrading their business model into IB models. And the sixth is to establishing an IB risk reduction fund for investors to facilitate financing to IB companies. For this recommendation, we have to see a little bit because we also not yet have this legal framework, so we have to see it again, whether you can set up this type of fund or we will assign some of the already set up fund to cover these activities. IB in 2020 ASEAN agenda chaired by Vietnam. So the study also recommends us to implement this roadmap through the encourage the multi-stakeholder contribution and work very close with other government line ministries, business association, business facilitators, impact investor, and other development partners. So we see this is very important report and also very useful for Vietnamese government to support the IB model in the next coming time. And based on the recommendation in the report, we already submit to Prime Minister the roadmap to develop the IB business in Vietnam. I also want to share with you some of the key contents of the strategies, very short only. So the main objective of the strategy is to promote sustainable development of the private sector. We focus on private sector because almost they are SME and other state-owned enterprises bigger and they have more resources from the government. And also we try to mobilize the social resources to develop an ecosystem to support the sustainable business enterprise. So the beneficiaries of this roadmap will be private sector who do the IB model and also the IB facilitators like research institutions, universities, non-business units, and business association. We will do through these partners. So we have five key activities of this roadmap. The first one, we try to make the raise awareness of the IB model. As you see now in Vietnam, both the central and the local level, we still have the limited awareness about the IB models. Even in realities, many models already applies, like they had to mute and some other models, they apply this model already. But in the the law, we still not have the guidelines to recognize this IB model or what is the criteria to decide this business model is IB or not. Yeah, so this also we have to improve the awareness. And the secondly, we would like to build up a platform to collect and establish the database on the IB. We want to see how many IB's model have in Vietnam, and also according to the reasons where is the focus. We see many IB models focus in the mountainous area, so this is very important. And the third, we would like to develop the tools to measure, to evaluate and recognize IB model, as I told you. And the fourth, to build up the capacity for private IB. We try to training them, to send the consultants to them, to support them with the market access, trade promotion, to support them to implement the IB model to their business. And also we try to develop the financial products and credit service, working with the banking sectors to support the finance. And in general, we see that IBS is still new for Vietnam and some other countries. And we also try to support, but we see still lack of the knowledge, and also we want to receive the support from other donors and also development agency to have with us the knowledge and the experience from other countries to apply in Vietnam and also in ASEAN. And once again, I'd like to thank you one more time for the Brunei, the ASEAN Secretariat for holding this IB summit, and also thanks ESCAP, iBAN, and also OECD and expert for the very important report for Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bui. And again, thank you for your leadership in driving forward the inclusive business agenda in Vietnam and taking it to the very highest levels within government as well. That's really important. So thank you so much. And again, just I think what the report emphasized was again the potential, not only the realities of how inclusive businesses are supporting a more inclusive economy in Vietnam, but also the huge potential that could be derived both social and economic of IB in Vietnam as well. So thank you so much. Let me now turn to Naina. And my apologies, Naina. I think the organizing committee were very excited to have you on the panel, because I've actually got 3 questions for you here. So bear with me. First question. What opportunities do you see in ASEAN to finance inclusive business models? What are some of the challenges that businesses seeking to finance their inclusive and social business models face? And what plans do you have to support the enabling environment for inclusive business? My apologies, but 3 questions for you there, Naina. Over to you.
Thank you, John, and thank you so much for having me on this panel. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and privilege to be on this panel along with all of you who've spoken before and speak actually from the perspective of a funders network that is committed towards moving capital towards impact across Asia. As we all know, the pandemic has tested the resilience of businesses in Southeast Asia. And in a policy brief released in August of this year, the International Labour Office revealed that in 2020 alone, there were 10.6 million or 3.2% fewer workers in employment across ASEAN countries than expected in a pre-pandemic scenario. The ASEAN region also recorded working hour losses of 8.4% relative to the fourth quarter of 2019. These are unprecedented figures. And for all of us who work in the sector, we do know that the informal economy has been hit just as badly. Income losses have impacted as many as 829 million informal workers across Asia Pacific, and now 636 million vulnerable people are at risk of being pushed into extreme poverty. Just one example, John. If you consider waste pickers, a recent study in Bangkok found that 14% of informal waste pickers experienced hunger in 2020 as daily wages dropped. And the most significant impact on waste pickers were the closing of recycling shops, the reduction in material prices, and the hazardous exposure to medical waste. Larger issues like climate change, water security, and rapid urbanization were already stressing existing infrastructure. But the pandemic that is still ongoing has laid bare the complexities in addressing them. We will all need to be innovative in the recovery and balance the demand for short-term crisis management support alongside longer-term investments to build economic, social, and governance resiliency. Inclusive business principles provide a framework for exactly such innovation. And the core of this approach is to create a long-term sustainable value for communities that are at the bottom of the pyramid. These communities are the ones that unquestionably have suffered the most in the last 2 years of COVID-19. From the livelihood perspective, it is integrating them as suppliers, entrepreneurs, or employees. But there is also an opportunity to see them as clients and consumers and to shape products that most closely align with their needs. By integrating informal waste pickers, for example, into the formal supply chain, private sector companies will be able to scale their market. So to get to the first question that you asked me, what opportunities do I see that exist currently in ASEAN to finance inclusive business models? So in my experience, inclusive business models are diverse. They're diverse in scale, in scope, and maturity. And the type of finance that they require, therefore, differs accordingly. In terms of patient capital, I believe that the risk appetite is still developing amongst investors. There is still a need for public-private partnerships to demonstrate success stories like Krakatoa Chocolate in Indonesia or Kenenme Foods International in the Philippines. Government funders recognize that smallholders can pose too high a risk for the private sector investors to take on, and they have come in to provide the first loss capital to share this burden of risk. As part of the Swedish government's Gender Transformative and Responsible Investments in Southeast Asia project, or GRACIA, IIX's sourcing platform Impact Partners was able to work with Krakatoa, providing both pre- and investment and post-investment support to de-risk investments. IIX's accelerator program, ACTS, was also able to provide the Swedish government with 3 times the leverage, meaning that for every dollar of grant funding that SIDA spent on the accelerator, IIX was able to raise 3 times the private sector investment into investment-ready enterprises like Krakatoa. There have also been some philanthropists who have played this role of de-risking the capital. In the Philippines, for example, the Lopez Foundation has seed funded the entire supply chain cycles from the point of manufacturing to sale and delivery of products to the customer to support local artisans' developments as entrepreneurs as part of their Artefino project. Impact investors want to see strong financial returns combined with a greater focus on sustainability, responsibility, and inclusion. And they're not only seeking out businesses that already reflect these values, but they are in a position to influence business leaders through dialogue, corporate governance activism, and to make changes to their investment strategy or by co-investing with these companies in specific projects. So I'll give you one more example. LGT Venture Philanthropy, for example, is a global impact investor supporting organizations with outstanding social and environmental impact. It's invested in Kenenme Foods International, a social enterprise in the Philippines that not only leverages, that not only helps empower smallholder cocoa farmers by increasing their farm yield and income by as much as 4 times, but also tries to integrate about 35,000 farmers into its value chain by the end of 2020. And LGT has supported this enterprise by being a shareholder and leveraging its network of contacts to help grow the business. For larger companies, it can sometimes be a challenge to secure the pool of resources required to adapt their business models to become more inclusive. And they are making big strategic bets with 10 to 15-year investment horizons. They are not evaluating success in terms of profit and a return on investment today, because these would be very small compared to their other business units. However, if they succeed, these will shape their long-term global strategies and the future direction of the company. So an example for this is Visa, which has employed a multi-pronged approach to equipping small and micro businesses, including digital skill building, access to networks, and digital commerce capabilities and funding for growth. So in 2020, Visa announced plans to support 10 million small businesses across Asia Pacific in light of the pandemic by supporting these businesses with digital payment mechanisms to meet increased demand for cashless payments. It also established the Visa Economic Empowerment Institute to tackle economic and societal challenges. Another example is Essilor, which is using its resources from the Vision Catalyst Fund to train, tool, and deploy more than 3,500 unemployed or underemployed individuals, especially women and young people, so that they can set up their own micro enterprises, delivering vital vision screening referrals and dispensing of glasses in rural communities. So finally, I would say impact investors want to see strong financial returns, and they want to see a focus in sustainability, responsibility, and inclusion. Your second question was, what are some of the challenges that businesses who are seeking to finance their inclusive and social business models face? So in my mind, investors find it hard to get buy-in from internal stakeholders for the types of long-term investments that are needed to develop inclusive businesses. Given that most business leaders are evaluated on their short-term performance and profit, this greatly limits the thinking about inclusive business opportunities. Even the initiatives that do get off the ground are vulnerable to being cut back whenever their profits or their share prices fall. So what can policymakers do to respond to this barrier or challenge? They can engage policy levers as signposts, put in place incentive mechanisms to encourage corporations to innovate by leveraging the base of the pyramid. Financial, reputational, or other incentives can also improve return on investment for inclusive business activities and make it much more attractive for companies to invest in this area. Companies also often struggle to measure the wider social, environmental, and financial benefits that go to individuals, governments, and other organizations in the ecosystem. And this is important because you need to capture evidence about the benefits to enable funding. Finally, emerging economies present a mix of challenges, including infrastructure gaps, skill gaps, governance and security, as well as a mix of languages and cultures across the ASEAN region. So how can we help? And I think this ASEAN intra-government collaboration can really help inclusive businesses navigate these kinds of complex regulatory frameworks. I know I'm running out of time, so I'll quickly tell you that what plans do we have? Well, AVPN has been working closely with the Inclusive Business Action Network, or iBAN, ESCAP, and others since 2019 to socialize the inclusive business principles and frameworks across ASEAN, particularly in Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and Vietnam. We have run seminars, masterclasses, matchmaking sessions, and multi-stakeholder dialogues. So what I would like to highlight is that in just under 4 weeks, we will be hosting our Southeast Asia Summit in a hybrid format across Indonesia and Singapore, where inclusive business will be a core theme. So I encourage all of you here to join that. In addition, we are going to be running, along with iBAN, 2 seminars on inclusive business financing in Cambodia. And these 2 events are planned for early next month, and impact investors and foundations from various ASEAN countries are invited. And we hope that these workshops will be the start of more conversation and alignment across stakeholder groups so that we can cement this approach of getting more financing towards inclusive businesses. Back to you, John.
Great. Thank you so much, Naina. And you know what? You really put the urgency on the need for change here. I mean, I think the extreme poverty caused by the pandemic, climate change, I mean, these are big issues that IB really has to try and tackle and be part of that equation as well. And also, thank you for putting some reality to the situation as well and recognizing we're not there yet. There's need for public-private partnership. Impact investors and inclusive businesses aren't quite kind of that marriage we're looking for yet, but I think that's a really important point to make. We're running a little short of time, but let me try and take some of the questions first. Naina, let me stick with you actually. There's a question around, and I know I'm putting this to you because I know AVPN has a big gender focus. How can IB empower women workers, both formal and informal? So maybe over to you first, just to give the other panelists some time to prepare. Your Excellency and Ms. Bui, there's a question coming around what would you recommend for other officials interested in promoting inclusive business? What would be a good starting point? So I'll come to you after Naina. And Suryani, if you don't mind, I'm going to abuse my moderator rights and ask you the final question, which is, you mentioned digital transformation and the opportunities that could have for more inclusive businesses. That will be a very nice segue to the next session. So I'll end on that. But maybe over to you first, Naina, on this, how can IB empower women workers, both informal and formal?
Sure. I think the IB model is an excellent way to empower women workers, women entrepreneurs. And we are finding, in fact, from the private sector, there is a lot of interest, especially post-pandemic, to look at how women entrepreneurs can help scale and build capacity in their businesses. In fact, we talked about extreme poverty. Women entrepreneurs, women workers have been actually the hardest hit post this pandemic. And it's really important when we are looking at a concerted, inclusive business strategy that women workers are front and center of that strategy. So just to share really quickly with you, we are working with Moody's across 4 countries in ASEAN to really look at business models that are helmed by women entrepreneurs, inclusive business models, and are looking at actually providing capacity building, providing mentorship and guidance to them, in addition to connecting them to low-cost financing opportunities. So again, please do get in touch with us if you are if you are a woman entrepreneur, you're running a business model. We'd be very, very keen to connect you both with a mentor as well as access to low-cost financing to help you build capacity in your business.
Great. Thank you so much, Naina. The next question is, what would you recommend for other officials interested in promoting inclusive businesses? What would be a good starting point to promote inclusive businesses? This question's been put to, let's go to Ms. Bui first, and then Your Excellency, we can come to you. So over to you, Ms. Bui.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question. I think that as we are also the government official, and as I told in my presentation that not mean that now in Vietnam and ASEAN country not yet have the IB model. They already have, but from the government side, what we do to support, to recognize, to make them expand more model apply. And in some, at the workshop some days ago, we listened to the model from the TH Milk and Dairy Corporation of Vietnam. Of course, the big company is not small and medium size, but when they apply the IB model, they create much opportunities for the farmers, especially the women in the nurse area. In their value chain, the milk value chain, they involve 20,000 farmers, and almost these farmers come from the Nghệ An and some mountainous areas. And in their very interesting, we can see if the government pay some money to cover the life risk of these people, we cannot support them compared to the IB model applied to the TA. Because they can do themselves, they get involved in the value chain. And we see that for the government officer, we should recognize them by give the guidelines or legalize, give the criteria to recognize they are the IB business. Maybe we have some incentives. Like now we include in we have the SME supporting law. And in that law, we have many incentives and capacity building activity to support the SME. And for the IB business, we also have some capacity building activities to support them, to recognize them. And even every year, we try to hold the festival or something to promote them, and to try to ask the big company to transfer the model to the medium one, to the medium companies. So we see that that is PPP model, and the government also benefits from that, and also the farmers and government also benefit, and the IB company also benefit. And we see that it's not too late to the government officer to start from now, and we can share experience among ASEAN and we can expand it. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Bui. Your Excellency, Heng Sukong, over to you for some thoughts on that question.
Thank you so much. I think it's very interesting questions. wow, what would we recommend for the official to promote this inclusive business? Of course, you may know that these IB inclusive business, they provide a triple win: the win for the farmer, the win for the entrepreneurs, and the win for the government itself. So as we are government official, what would we do? Of course, the first one is to help promote the farmers. And how to do that right now, especially within this COVID-19 pandemics? The sector that I play a very important role in each country is agriculture and agro industry. When we are, facing this kind of pandemic, but we have to eat every day. We have to use some material that are produced from the farmers. That's why what we are going to do is how we can promote and accelerate, for example, to the farmers in agriculture, agro industries, and of course in industries itself. For this kind, we can some kind like, as a government official, we can such kind like suggest it to some kind of bank like SME bank or other bank that they provide incentive. Like in Cambodia, we do have SME bank and also the agro development bank that provide some kind of like the loan to the farmers, but very incentive rate. This is kind of what we're going to do with the farmers, and out of this we can help to find out the market for the farmers, whatever like this. And second thing, for the entrepreneurs, you may know that entrepreneurs also facing a lot of the challenge within this pandemic around, so that we can also making some incentive within the ministries itself. All line of ministry, all official within the line of ministry is going to play a very important role on how we can help accelerate all these entrepreneurs itself. Such like in Cambodia, we provide a lot of incentive packages to the entrepreneur that facing the challenge, for example, within the tourism sectors, within the agriculture sectors, and also some kind of like SME that are facing down, so that we provide a lot of things to them. Such kind of like the tax incentive, for example, and some kind of like promotion loan or a guarantee scheme that we can provide them with very low rate of the interest. And second thing, to the government itself, we are right now in Cambodia, we have some kind of like making the new investment law, and within the law we subscribe something that is specifically provide the incentive to those SME and also the IB model company that is some kind of the dignity of the farmers and also the entrepreneurs itself. And all of this we are using to jointly a lot of the ASEAN summit, especially for the ASEAN IB summit, something like this. I myself used to suggest to the ASEAN iBAN and also OECD or even ESCAP to consider on how ASEAN itself can suggest to the rich country, the developed country, to consider to provide the quota free, duty free to the ASEAN IB model company. That is quite important for even our post-COVID-19 recovery. Because why? Because this IB model company, it provides a lot of good benefit to the farmer itself, to the entrepreneur, and to the government, and especially the dignity of all the farmer. So it should be considered on that. Even the WHO also can consider to approach all the developed country to provide this kind of the tax incentive or even quota free, duty free to the ASEAN, all the company, IB model company in ASEAN country. It's not only for the poor country, but also the rich country in ASEAN, because this model company is very good to provide the triple win for those countries itself. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Your Excellency. And allow me to now give the final word to Suryani. And you mentioned digital transformation, and I just kind of would welcome your perspectives on what opportunities or challenges do you think digital transformation brings for more inclusive businesses? So over to you, Suryani.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are going to face this pandemic for a longer time than we may think, but however, it should not be stopping the businesses, the inclusive businesses to continue with their activities. I just want to share what in our country, what we do within our inclusive businesses. The public-private sector collaboration is demonstrated through the works of the Holstein Milk Company Sendirian Berhad. In Malaysia, it's very popular. We call it the Farm Fresh Milk. Yeah. So the ASEAN Inclusive Business Award recipient, which provides structured responses to economic shocks and to reach communities very quickly. So the company has set up a satellite farmer network that empowers rural dairy farmers with knowledge to increase the quality and volume of their output, alongside a home dealer network which allows micro entrepreneurs to become its dealers or stockists. So they're very popular. They engage the communities around their facilities, but the stockists are all over the country, all over Malaysia, and these actually are helping the micro entrepreneurs to live in this pandemic era whereby they have to survive. Now it's about survivability. So this company has actually helped a lot of the micro entrepreneurs to sustain in the current scenario. So this have actually helped build resilience among the communities, particularly the vulnerable groups against these economic challenges at this point of time. So this collaboration is very, very dynamic. It's really good and helping these people. So driven by mission to promote positive nutritional habits and hygienic food practices in schools, the company too has partnered with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health to raise awareness among future generations. So these are the things that the IB are promoting for post-pandemic recovery and empowering. As for the women side, they are actually helping too within the micro entrepreneurs. So a majority of those in the micro entrepreneurs are actually women. So indirectly, we are actually helping women in this sector, and in other businesses as well. We actually foresee and already existing women entrepreneurs already in the market there, helping out in this current scenario. So over to you back, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Suryani. I'm sorry to say we've run out of time now. We've reached the end. We could have gone on for a lot longer, but just to say a huge thank you to all our panel for taking the time to share their insights, and for the audience as well for all your questions. My apologies, I couldn't get through them all. But let me close by just saying, of course, we're in the midst of the ASEAN 2021 deliberations at the moment, with meetings happening left, right, and centre. And I think certainly that the panel have given us some really key messages to take forward to the ASEAN leaders during their deliberations and to promote inclusive business more. I think Suryani set the scene perfectly around kind of looking at IB as not just something for economic objectives, but social objectives, and the highlighting this need to leave no one behind. She also kind of emphasized the opportunities of digital transformation for more inclusive businesses. His Excellency Heng Suk-Kung, great point around the need for markets and trade within ASEAN, which ASEAN can itself do in providing kind of more preferential trade, if you like, agreements for more inclusive businesses and more social enterprises. And he also emphasized the importance and need to engage governments, private sector, NGOs as well, and specifically the farmers and the informal sector and the low-income workers who are really trying to help. So that was a great point there. Miss Bui, when she mentioned the Vietnam case studies, really highlighted the potential that the inclusive business has, and she did some great research through that landscape study to actually make that point forward. And Naina as well, I thought, raised a great point around just bringing an urgency to all of this. You know, there's extreme poverty happening because of COVID. The climate crisis is now the biggest challenge, certainly in our generation, and really emphasizing the urgency of the agenda and how we need to put IB and new economic models and new business models at the heart of the answer to these challenges. So again, thank you again sincerely to all the panel for taking the time out and sharing your insights. Thank you to the audience for your participation, and my apologies for going 5 minutes into your virtual coffee break, but allow me to hand over back to the technical team for some announcements. It's been my pleasure to moderate this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong, for that wonderful moderation for this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, the next session will feature a parallel session on 2 different topics. The first parallel session 1A, titled Inclusive Business Models Promoting Digital Inclusion, moderated by Ms. Marta Perez-Cuso, Economic Affairs Officer, ESCAP. The second parallel session 1B, titled Inclusive Businesses and SMEs, moderated by Ms. Hilyati Muhammad Nasir, Director, Policy Monitoring and Inclusive Development Division, SME Corporation Malaysia.